Hey, David, you remember the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's been on since I was born.
It's coming back.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure it
coming
is.
back. They said
Yeah,
would
of
be back.
course.
And of course, one of the stars of Always Sunny in Philadelphia is our good friend Danny DeVito, who we interviewed a little while back.
That's right. Danny did SNL with us. Also, everyone on Always Sunny is a star, and it's pretty shocking that a show can still be on the air, even though it's really funny. It's just that doesn't really happen as much anymore. Where you
It's
have
like
a show that goes
Bonanza or
on.
Gunsmoke.
Yeah, Simpsons. There's some that just always come back, and so I'm glad it's back on. I'm glad it's still funny. I'm glad it's very edgy. It still gives people what they want, and I'm glad they get away with all the stuff they get away with because not many shows will try to do that anymore.
It's a great show, and you know, we had a thought. We huddled together with our team and thought that maybe we would show Danny DeVito's interview this week.
Yeah, that's a
For
perfect
people who
timing
missed
for it.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of people, they come and go, and it kind of goes back in the library. But we put it at the forefront and say, if you watch When Always Sunny, don't miss this episode. It was very funny, and he was just very interesting talking about the New York days and blah blah blah. So here he is. I hope you like him. We do, Mr. Danny DeVito.
But I was just thinking, doing this in the 1960s, we might have waited for Yul Brynner to come on. That would have been fun.
Yul Brynner would be the first guest.
Podcast guest in 1965. We'd follow him up with Steve McQueen.
Yeah, you put him on. He does a little dance. He does the accent.
He talks about doing the jump, but he didn't really do it in The Great Escape.
Didn't really, all the stuff that he does. Like I had an apartment in New York once in the 60s. I got on the bulletin board of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where I went to school, and I was looking for apartments. Everybody was always scrounging for like no money, but we had no money, so they had this bulletin board. Anyway, I went to an address, and it was in the weirdest place. It was on Madison Avenue, in like 57th or 8th Street. 645 was the address, I remember.
Oh.
And yeah,
wow.
And I walk in the door. It's a really shitty building. Now it's all, totally turned into what New York is, And I go in the building, and the first thing I saw was a giant picture of Yul Brynner.
Oh man!
And it was a little shitty, a little shitty hallway like kind of thing. And anyway, it worked out because I got the apartment. It was like the second flight up. It had an elevator actually in the building, but very, 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 very old school.
Yeah.
And of course, it was 64 or something like that.
So what was your rent? Do you remember your rent?
Yes, $50 a month.
$50 a month.
And it was a 1-bedroom apartment, and the bedroom was a living room, bedroom kind of situation. It had a nice bathroom and a kitchen, and a and the bedroom had windows that looked out over the tops of buildings in New York. So it was like one of those. It was like if you were doing a play or a movie about New York, and you said like, build me a outside, like what the cyclorama would look like, or today what you would put in the background of your movie. It was all the stove, the exhaust pipes and the tops of buildings and railings and all that. It looked like you could do West Side Story on the roofs.
Well, did people hang out of their windows going, "Hey, what's with the fucking noise over here?"
No, they weren't doing that. It was like more like, it wasn't like enclosed, like if there were buildings that went up, because in that area, at that time, it was just the top. So you had a great panorama of looking east. But no, you didn't see a river or anything. I was on Madison Avenue, and but to actually have that address at that time was like amazing, fucking crazy. Because I put these other glasses, I see better from far away.
That's a great, right in the heart of Midtown, right?
Yes, right in the heart of. And the thing about it is that at that time, a lot of people don't know this, Madison Avenue and Fifth Avenue were two-way streets. I mean, you guys weren't even born.
I was being born.
I go back. I remember Yul Brynner. Look, I mean, David doesn't know who Yul Brynner is.
Yes, so you remember him, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I remember The King and I was a poster.
But if you imagine Madison Avenue being a two-way street, and you know New York very well, and Fifth Avenue also. I used to walk up from 30th and go to 57th or 8th where I lived, and it was a two-way street. It was really, there weren't any horses and carts, though. You'd be happy to hear.
You weren't that far back?
It wasn't that far.
Good. All right. We're in the modern.
Were you walking around with Casting Call magazine?
I was doing what we used to get was show business and what would they call backstage. You remember those?
Backstage.
Remember those?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
You guys did it a whole other way. It was just we'd buy. I was never in the magazine. We'd buy these papers that came out once a week, show business and backstage, and in there would be all the casting that was going on. And we would go to on the corner of, I think it was 47th and 7th was Howard Johnson's, and everybody would meet in there. It was like you go in, take up space and have coffee, and read to see what
the
was,
latest thing.
to see what was going on. And
Danny, did you ever find when you auditioned for these things at the beginning? I found this, that you would audition and then you would hear through the grapevine they already have offers out to stars, but they're just looking for backups or. It's always the same case.
So it's been that since the beginning of time. And the other thing about, like, I'm talking about auditioning for off Broadway, regional theater, anything that you could get. And sometimes you get lucky and get an audition at the Public, and get a tiny part in Shakespeare in the Park. It's not literally a spear carrier, but you might have a few lines. Like I played the doctor in the Merry Wives of Windsor, the doctor's servant. Sorry, in the Merry Wives of Windsor. And those were the best shows to get because they literally paid, man.
Oh,
that was like you would wind up with $190 something a week in those in at Joe Papp's. $200. It was a different contract.
No strike needed there.
Yeah,
4 months of rent.
Off Broadway was great, man. Off Broadway was $68 a week, $70 a week.
Damn,
that's what I made on SNL.
And SNL didn't exist then, did it?
Did Lorne Michaels
that's what I tell people.
Existed?
Well, Lorne Michaels always existed.
He was a teenager,
and he still exists.
There is no one before.
When did SNL start? When did SNL start?
That's a good question.
75.
It's like 70 something.
75.
What? Yeah. So 75. I was already in California by then. I'd gone through off Broadway and all those things earlier, and did children's theater in Massachusetts. I've done, did all that kind of stuff, and then I got lucky in 1971-ish or two around there, and I got a part off Broadway and played Martini in Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh,
and so that was like where
there should be fucking applause.
Then I stayed in that play for almost a year. It ran at the Mercer Arts Center, and that was cool. And then then Milos saw it, and everybody saw it, and I got lucky and got a Milos. And then I got the movie, and then after the movie opened, I moved out.
Wait, Danny.
Sunny California.
My question was, when you do a play, you're not guaranteed a part in the there are you?
No, you're not guaranteed anything in this. Our business is, you must know this. It's not, there are no guarantees.
There's no anything.
No.
Yeah. I mean, once in a while, like, for instance, you could imagine like Brando giving a performance like he did in Streetcar. And then, you got to be you have to have your head in the sand to not cast him in the movie. So,
right.
Same thing with, Vivian.
They're not going to get someone from The Bachelor.
And they're not going to he's going to be the first choice.
Yeah, I starred in Hans and Franz, the musical. Sorry, go ahead.
I want to hear more about Hans and Franz, the musical.
Hans and Franz, the musical. What I was going to ask you, Danny, is a philosophical question. Usually when people have their struggling years, and then have hyper superstar success, which I'm going to put you in that category, they look back at those early years and go, those were some of the best days of my life. Do you feel that, or did it suck when you look back on the struggling years?
First of all, I mean, unless I'm doing something like talking to you guys, like, or something, where, you don't think about that as much, but you do think, like, those days were struggles, but not, not the best. They were not those were the days. I think the toughest part about that getting started was, like, you guys got started, like when you hit television, or I don't know what your history is, but how much you did before I met you at when I did The Church Lady or something like that. But
you were there. You were there. Yeah. I remember
there.
intensely. Well, you hosted a couple times. Just so funny. And when I did that drum solo in the dress, you were egging me on, and that was my best drum solo on television.
There you go. You see, you have to have a coach.
You were good. I had 10 years of anonymity before I got SNL. David got a movie right out of high school, but
I know. Danny, thank you for asking. I did a Police Academy movie, Police Academy 4, the good one, and then I came back and turned something down. I thought I was kind of a big deal, and then I lost all my heat for 3 years and had to grind it back, and it's so fucking sickening to even think about. But it all worked out. But like you were saying in the beginning, when you were struggling, I think, like all of us, you don't really know any better, and you know you're taking a risk by going into this world of movies and TV and theater. So you can only really look back and think, God damn, how did I get through that? But at the time, $100 is a lot. You get a little part, it's a lot. You're just sitting with your buddies at the coffee shop. It's such a long shot to make it that it's probably, once you make it, you look back and you go, God, that was tough. But at the time, it's tough, but I didn't really notice how tough it was.
Yeah, you don't notice it. No, you just, you're focused on, like, you're focused on getting the job.
Yeah.
So basically that was what was going on with me. I was like, I would read those papers that, and at the time, excuse me, in the 60s, I didn't have an equity card. So I just got out of school, and, like, the way they did it was you would read in backstage that such and such was casting something, and you go, okay, and they're casting over on 57th Street, by Carnegie Hall, somewhere near one of those buildings down the block, whatever it was. And casting was, say Tuesday. Okay, but you didn't get in until the end of if you didn't have an equity card, they saw everybody. Because everybody's looking for the right person to play the part, hopefully. Especially if they're not, I mean, maybe they already had the lead cast, or that's the way they raised the money, or that those things. But you would wait up in the, you go at like 3:00, 4:00 in the afternoon, and maybe the line was less, and you could, you waited, and then in the very end, they would let the non-equity people get in to audition, and then they'd see everybody. And as a matter of fact, the first play that I ever I did at in, I think it was 1968 or so, 7, the first off-Broadway show, because I had done regional theater. Well, I toured with a play once that came out of school. That was like kind of cast in we went to 2 theaters, went to the Eugene O'Neill Foundation, where the playwrights thing in 60-something, 64. And then like in 68, I actually did that. I went to one of those auditions, and where they make you wait until the very end. And I peeked my head into the, it was this big door in one of those big old pre-war buildings in the, like, it was on, I think it might have been on like near 57th Street. And I walk up, and it's a giant door, and there was nobody there because I had gone and come back. The line was really long. And anyway, long story short, I stuck my head in, and there was an actor, a director, and a writer and a producer sitting at a table really far away in this big empty room. It looked like a rehearsal room. And I just popped my head in. Like, and you still, seeing people kind of thing. And the actor, a guy named Alan Garfield. You remember, Alan?
James Garfield's son?
No. I don't know who his dad was. His name was Alan Garfield, but he was. You know him, Dave?
No, I know Garfield the cat.
Okay, but anyway, the guy literally at the table, like across the room, turns around and said, "That's the guy who should play the part."
Whoa!
They were trying to talk him into. He didn't want to do this part. It wasn't a huge part, but it was a good part. And I stuck my head in the door. And the guy and the actor, not the director and the producers and the writer or whatever, he said, "There's the guy who should play this part." And I just backed out of the room or something, and they came and got me. And I went in and I read the lines, did the thing. I had never seen the script before. Just, like those things where they give you the
cold
sides.
Read,
yeah. And I got a part in a play called Shoot Anything with Hair That Moves.
Of course.
It's a huge success.
I just think of the 70s and the films of the 70s and Cuckoo's Nest. And of course that play.
Yeah.
Don't shoot anything that has hair. And
shoot anything
the
with
friends
hair
that you made, Jack Nicholson and Michael Douglas, and your class,
right?
Those 70s guys that all became, and they're lifelong friends. What's the deal with those guys? Are they fun, or do you like them? Or
they're really
Jack
fun.
Nicholson and
they're good to work with.
Yeah, Jack's the coolest guy out there.
Jack was like a guy from Jersey. He actually lived like he was born in this. We were born in the same hospital. Figure that. Like,
well, I'll be damned.
And
well, hey,
I'll be damned.
How about that?
And
that's what Jack would say. I'll be damned. Born in the same hospital.
Yeah, how you like that? Me and D, born in the same hospital. I don't do a good accent. Let's see. And then Michael, I met actually in the 60s at the Eugene O'Neill playwrights conference up there, where that play that I was going through town with, we opened the festival that year, and that's where we met. So, and they were, and not only good guys, but really fun to work with. And once we got going, we had a couple of shots to work together. which was like really good. But, you know, it's good when people are looking out for you because the business is like very difficult. And when people are looking out for you, as well as, you know, your buddies and know what the scoop is, then you're fortunate to have those guys as friends.
You're lucky you're all good too, because it's hard to help each other out or recommend someone. But if everybody's good, those all three of you, so it's not crazy that you would all be in another movie or that you would work together, because you keep bringing it, which is hard to do.
It's all about the work, right?
Yeah, just keep working. Yeah.
And keep having a good time doing it.
Because our theme here, casually SNL, and you hosted 5 times. It's very rare
5 o'clock
to host 5 times. 5 o'clock. You and John Goodman and a couple others. When you host that show, as you know, you got to pretty much cold read 55 scripts over 4 hours, basically.
Yes.
And I remember thinking the time when you came in 86 or 87, damn, this guy can cold read. Were you known for that? But you were like nailing it, over and over again. Pretty cool to watch as a young performer.
Well, it was a lot of fun to sit in that room with all you crazy people and have that pile of scripts in front of you and just go through them. I mean, that's like, the opportunity to have everybody there pitching what they thought was best, and what you felt comfortable with. That's the main thing. I think that's key, right? Would you say, like, for the hosts to be comfortable with all that material? Pick the ones that are the ones that suit you best. It's a lucky thing, like, to have that pack of, troubadours all sitting around the table.
It's like old school showbiz, kind of.
Yeah, old school. It's like, I could imagine what it was like, when the Marx Brothers were running around all the theaters trying out material. That would be the same kind of thing. They just they suffer people through 2 hours or 3 hours of material, and then pick the ones that they like best.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin did some TV shows in there. Don Pardo said to me, and they would just go up to the director and cut his tie off with a scissor. This is Jerry Lewis in the 50s, and they would both just push the piano over, like destroy the piano. They were the anarchists then, the crazy people. But one thing about you, I have to say, so we get to it, was on Hans and Franz, when we got you in there as like a pit bull, over the top Austrian guy who was out of his mind, and we would berate the audience, the imaginary, and you would start berating them, and then you start attacking the camera, and we had to keep holding you back. That was one of the funniest moments I had on that show with you in that sketch. Yeah, hysterical. Because you committed so fucking hard.
Yeah, I think sometimes the task of the director for me is, sitting on me, holding me back, get me away from just try to turn the burners down a little bit, Once I get going, I guess that's what happens.
Burners down.
It still happens that way.
Well, that's what Arnold told me about you. He said, you got to keep Danny on his feet. Keep Danny on his feet because his energy goes up.
On a short leash.
Leash.
Otherwise, he gets going. He gets away at the leash, and you have to follow him and get him and bring him back into the scene because the emotions get so high with Danny.
It's funny about with Arnold. Arnold and I were thrust together by Ivan Reitman, who just passed away.
Twins.
Rest his soul. He called me and said, "How would you like to be Arnold Schwarzenegger's brother?" I said, I'd jump at the chance. I thought that was a great idea. Once we got together, it was like we had a great chemistry. We breaking balls constant. It was like a kind of like, he's so formidable, and he's got a great sense of humor. He does. Like he's always doing all kinds of crazy ass shit. And he always had a pack of guys around him, like Franco and and
Franco
Peter,
Columbo.
these guys
Franco
who were-
Columbo.
yeah, and all these guys and these other bodybuilders. And so it was like a pack of bros. It was similar, going into like that with as a host of Saturday Night Live, going into this pack of like crazy people that were always, that had a shorthand, and got along the way you guys did. I don't, at least when I was around you, we were always, fucking around, having a good time. And so it was a similar kind of thing with Arnold. I'd go in and there would all be these guys seriously pumping iron and doing shit and, talking about, and I just like, when you get
Protein
it's the
powder.
like all of a sudden a kind of a wrecking ball comes in and starts banging into,
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Were they going to do a triplets?
Yeah, we were going to do it. And then this is I always go by the Super Bowl because I was in Atlanta doing a movie and it was Super Bowl Sunday and I was just getting over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck in a room for 2 weeks and the news came that Ivan passed away on that day. And so this is going to be 3 years now that he's gone. 3 years. 2 years. That he's gone.
Okay.
Brilliant director.
Yeah, it was a drag. He was, he's a lot of fun and made a big difference in my life.
Yeah, I was told
but
that.
we were going to do triplets.
Oh,
We were going to do triplets. We had a script going. Everything was going. And then when he passed, his family didn't want to continue with doing it. So Arnold and I are working on other things together.
oh, good.
And
That's awesome. We love Arnold.
the way
and
things. He's a cool guy. He's a good guy. Tracy Morgan was going to come in.
I'll put a baby in there.
He's so funny. We had a great Zoom together, and he was just off the charts,
Bananas,
hysterical.
Yeah.
I mean, that energy in there was been like.
D, it don't get any easier.
That's that. That's the way things go. Like they, you have to always adjust as like we do. So.
Did you have the role that got away, Danny? Or maybe a conflict. He had to do another movie instead.
No, I didn't.
Choices
that I couldn't do. I hadn't had one of those that was really substantial. That you could look back and say, no. I've had roles that I desperately wanted and got, which I had to work hard to get. If you can't imagine, how everybody holds out. You get a part, and somebody says the last minute you get a part, and it's the one you wanted, and that's really the ones I think about. The ones that got away, I don't know. I can't.
Were you going to be Costanza?
Oh no. I think you mean like in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. They just yeah. I was still. I don't know what I was doing at the time. When
mid-90s.
But I did a movie.
Yeah.
I did a movie called The Ratings Game, which was done for Showtime. It was the first movie that I directed, and I cast in that movie as it was one of his first things on camera, Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know if he had done anything before this, but I cast him as an agent, and coincidentally, there were a couple of like really wild characters in the movie. I cast Michael Richards in the same movie.
Oh, weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know that they would later be teamed up in Seinfeld, but this was like it was in 83. When did Seinfeld go on?
Like 93,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. Something like that. Yeah.
So 10 years earlier, I did a movie called The Ratings Game, and both Jerry Seinfeld and Michael Richards were in it.
Did Jerry ask you questions of how to direct? He
Hey.
goes, how do you want me to play this scene? Did he ever say that to you?
No, I don't. Yeah.
He's pretty kind of serious in real life, I think. By the way, which Batman did you work with? I can't remember.
Batman Returns.
Who was the Batman again?
It was Michael.
Oswald. Oh no, that.
Oh, I love Michael.
I do. I'm not just because you're on our show right now. I love your Penguin. I loved it. Your Oswald Penguin. I thought. Didn't you have fun doing that? I mean, your get up was so crazy.
Yeah. I had fun doing that. That was one of the ones that I really wanted, and I met Tim, and we had a great conversation about it, and I knew he had done a lot of drawings, and we sat in his office and looked at it, and I really, really wanted to play that. And the first makeup was, I was in the chair for almost 5 hours, and then we got it down to 3, but we stayed around 3 and change. And it was amazing. And it was the thing I liked about that was, like I said, I like to go big. And boy, oh boy, Oswald was written like an opera. And he could go, you could take this guy, I mean, he was slapping his flippers off the walls, baby. I mean, your bird cannot fly.
He was the Wicked Witch. He was all of it, all in one.
Yes.
Crazy
That was great.
character.
It's odd. Yeah, and that was after. So I did we did Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile,
great,
and then War of the Roses with Michael and Kathleen. And I was just about thinking about what we were going to do again, because I was trying to pull a Fritz Lang, where you, as a director, you cast, the same people in all of your movies, but they play different parts. And then Batman came along, and it's odd the way things, emerge. Most of the movies that I've done, came out of the blue, and you're very fortunate. I was going to direct a pilot I was sitting in the commissary at Paramount, and I was just about to make the deal. I was talking to the writer, and I was talking to the producer, and it was at Paramount, and I was going to be I was directing this pilot, and I had a yellow pad full of notes, about the pilot script, and I knew I was getting really steely daggers from the writer, who was also the producer. And a woman, this was in the days we didn't have cell phones and stuff. A woman from the commissary, I was in the commissary all the time because of Taxi. That's where we shot Taxi. She came over to me and she said, "You have a phone call." It was like the old Hollywood days. She didn't bring it to the table, but I got up and went over to where the phone was. And it was Michael Douglas. And he rescued me from doing that pilot, because we had shot Romancing the Stone already. Romancing the Stone. And he said, "What are you doing? I heard you're going to do a pilot." I said, "Yeah, man, I'm struggling through this meeting right now." He said, "Well, you can't do that. We got to go on the road, man. We're going all over the world to promote the movie." And I said, I love you, baby.
Yeah, get me out of here.
Yeah, I love you. You rescued my ass.
All right, I got a question.
Go.
Did you ever go see? You were on a show called Taxi. You might not remember, but did you ever see Andy Kaufman go do stand up, just like at the Comedy Store?
Yeah.
And how was that?
That was bizarre.
Yeah, bizarre. Cool. Yeah.
But I went to see him do that, and I saw him, and I went out to eat at the restaurant. He busboyed out in the valley. It was
after he was on Taxi.
Yeah, while he was on the show, he busboyed out in.
I love it.
On I think I'm not sure the name of the deli. Yeah, it was a good. Might have been Katz's. No. What the hell in the valley? It wasn't Art's Deli. It was the other one. It's closed now. But
Jerry's.
It was on Is it on Ventura Boulevard? It was
Jerry's is, yeah.
Jerry's, yeah, that was probably that might have been it.
Yeah.
Jerry's.
Yeah.
And we went out. We had like a couple of us from the show. I think Tony might have been with me. Judd might have come. We just one night went out and we knew he was working, and so we went and ate, and had conversations with him like you would have with the busboy. Not Andy. Andy's nowhere around.
All right, he's the busboy now.
He was the busboy. It was like really great. I mean that guy was like, we had some fun. His dressing room was right next to mine. We would. He was hysterical. One day, somebody was delivering a package, and it was a woman, and he started yelling at her because she was, I don't know, UPS, so I can't remember what. Maybe it was the government. I don't know what the fuck it was, but she's walking in. She's got a uniform on. She's delivering a package to somebody, and he tells her that she should be home. She's taking a man's job, and he booked her into a wrestling match. I was there for that one. Right in the hallway, both of them turning red. You know what I mean? Like chokeholds. We had to break them apart a couple of times. He was so serious about that shit.
You could do that.
Like crazy about that shit.
I don't think you could actually.
I mean, you could do that. You could do. Yeah, I don't know. There was no like. Again, if that was today, somebody would be out with a cell phone, and the next thing you know, it would be online, and people would comment about it, and they would say, but I'll tell you, the woman that he was fighting was as big as he was, and she did a good job, man. She had his ass down big time. It was. I don't know if Tony. I always wondered if. Tony always had a little camera with him, Danza, and I was wondering if he, had one of those little. Always had a camcorder,
8mm.
Were you cast before Andy? Were you cast first, or did you have any hand in the casting?
No, I think Andy might have been cast. I was the last. I think I might have been one of the last members to be cast. And the story was that I was told later was that my part was actually written as a voice that came over the loudspeaker, kind of like Carlton the doorman.
Yeah, I remember Carlton the doorman.
Involved in that guy, and then ultimately, I came in and did my famous audition where I said to them before they just introduced me, and I said to Brooks and Weinberger and Danny Davis was there, all the guys sitting around. I said, one thing I want to know before I start, who wrote this shit? And I threw it on the table. And it was like a split second of like, am I going to get thrown out? Not even, a nanosecond.
Yeah,
where they didn't
of
do
course.
it, and then they just fucking pissed themselves, right? And then it was one of those auditions where you couldn't say anything, you couldn't do anything wrong. I'd say and I'd get a laugh.
I love it.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was the that was
Riga.
Joel. The casting director was Joel Thurm. He said, you got to come and do this. You got, and I said, yeah, man, okay, cool.
What a fucking score that was!
What a score that was! Yeah.
What was weirder, working with Andy Kaufman on Taxi, or then doing The Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey doing Andy Kaufman?
I think working with Jim was like really off the charts. That was the most fun. Like I've had fun like on.
Sure.
I'm really fortunate. I had fun on a lot of the movies. You know, I never had one of those, oh, fuck, that was awful movies. I always had these like really quirky kind of things. And being on the set with Jim Carrey, sorry about that. Being on the set with Jim Carrey was, it is Jim. No, I'm only kidding. He was like so far in, you know, all the story. We saw the documentary. Mm-hmm. I was producing that movie. And so but also playing, God rest his soul, George Shapiro. Anyway, he was busting my balls constantly. And, you know, and Milos is then, it's infectious because then what would happen, we were having fun, but Milos should go to me, you got to go to Matvin's trailer. I'm losing time. I got to get, the studio's going to be on my ass. Yeah. And I'm going, Andy, Jim,
Tony
you know what I mean? Come on out. And he's going, but it was fun. It was, even though it was like, and I've got a lot of friends who worked on that movie, and we still talk about that experience because Pam Abdi was my assistant at the time. She was there, and knowing that I was going through what was going on. I mean, he did things like we're acting in the movie, but I'm also the producer, one of the producers of the movie. And so he would get mad and he pulled his car up to my trailer and went up, there's got the little metal steps. Yeah. He jammed the car up, put it in gear or something, locked it, took the keys. I couldn't get out of my trailer. The Teamsters had to come with a crane to get the car. It was like one of those. It was a crazy, crazy time.
I love Jim Carrey. Yeah, Jim Carrey is fucking great. Just the fact that he committed that.
Did he get nominated for Best Actor for that? Or
no, I don't know. We had a really
brilliant.
It was he was brilliant in that part, and and seriously would turn it on and off when he wanted. So that was like one of those things where whenever he came to the set, he was always in character. But if you see him like, off, like I went to his house or something like that for some thing. He was like cool. He wasn't, he wasn't like a serial killer off the the set.
He's sort of a quiet, sweet guy. Yeah,
quiet, sweet guy, but then turned into like Tony Clifton.
I love it.
Which was
Tony Clifton is a whole other.
That was fucked up, level. Man. Yeah, we shot at a place called Chasen's down on.
I remember that place.
Okay, he spread. There was some kind of, I don't know, union strike or something. There was something going on. He wrote like big letters, like, in red ink. I mean, red spray paint all over the building. I had to repaint the entire building.
It's like a Farley. It's like having a crazy person on the set.
Chris. Yeah. I can't imagine what it was. I always loved Chris, and because he would take it to that,
Oh yeah,
he was always the one.
Oh my God! Yeah. Same kind of thing. Just a lot of attention, a lot of craziness, and
Chris,
lovable, sweet guy like Jim. I mean, but they really liven things up. There's always a story after the fact.
There's always a story.
Dana, I got to ask Danny about always an Always Sunny question, because we can't let you go without talking about Always Sunny. One question of mine is, I don't see all the episodes, but I see a lot of it on Instagram, which I don't know if you know this, but when they show TikTok and Instagram clips, they're always so fucking filthy. I'm like, are these from the real show? Are they getting away with all this stuff?
Are they filthy? I don't know. I don't.
I mean, like, just they're very R-rated, and I thought,
Yeah, the
oh
show is
man,
a little bit.
I mean, people love that fucking show. They love
Yeah,
it.
the show is a little. I don't know
A
what
little.
clips you're talking about, but we have had some
Well,
innuendos.
they're hilarious.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some innuendos for sure. I'm not sure if they're even innuendos. They're just straight ahead. But yeah, it's so funny, and it's such a long run. So, it sounds like a gift, I'm sure. Just
Yeah,
like
it is a gift.
being
It
with
is a
fun.
gift.
They all look fun as shit. I don't know
Yeah, they
everybody
are.
that well, but
No, they're all. When I got this show, that Landgraf was my buddy, and he showed me this
FX
show.
boss, right?
Yeah, FX. And then I met them, and they were, just the way they are, and the same cat, the three oddballs.
Mhm.
And then I met Caitlin, and she's like hysterical.
She's hilarious.
But yeah, they're a lot of fun to go to work with. Yeah, it's good. It's a good job.
Sure.
It's been on there forever.
Keeps giving.
And now Matilda, we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Matilda came to me. Yeah.
Which you directed the movie.
I did. I directed the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
and I saw Mara Wilson in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, and she was a little bit older when I met her. Perfect for Matilda, and we shot the movie, and it was great. We had a great time. That was fun. That was hundreds of kids. There was no CG. We added kids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This was all real kids. It was really great. Me on the stage with a bullhorn. Yeah, do this, do that. Like, and get your finger out of your nose. We're shooting. Okay,
wrangling cats. Yeah,
wrangling. Yeah. And so now we're doing it on. We've taken the sound out. You've seen these things. Everybody's does it with E.T. and does it with Star Wars and does it with Back to the Future. I took the soundtrack out, and David Newman is going to conduct the Philharmonic. It's a symphony orchestra.
Okay, yeah.
New Jersey Symphony Orchestra, and we're doing that. Here's the thing: you take the sound out, okay, not just the music out, but I narrate the movie as well as play a part in it. So when I'm narrating, I'm on stage actually with the symphony orchestra. It's really intimidating, but it's really a lot of fun. Yeah, and you're watching the streamer go by on. I got a little monitor with the movie. He's conducting the score. The people are watching the movie.
Oh.
I've got a brand new print, and it's just beautiful. The print is like gorgeous, and then when it's my turn to narrate, talk. He conducts. It's like being conducted.
Over it? You talk over it?
Yeah. Well, in the movie, I play the part of Wormwood, Mr. Wormwood, and I also narrate the movie. So, because I tried to find somebody to narrate the movie, but I being the egotist I am, I couldn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't
embarrassing.
happy with anybody else.
Cast yourself.
Like, yes, myself, and it's kind of a trip to see. You play the part, you're narrating the movie, and I've got Rhea, of course, plays Mrs. Wormwood. She's going to come on the 22nd.
Great.
And I've got Pam Ferris coming over from England. She played the Trunchbull. It's really astounding how many kids love the
Miss Trunchbull.
Miss Trunchbull. She was like really tough. And Mara's.
By the way, I don't hear about a lot of these things, Danny. You don't hear about the symphony, maybe with a Star Wars or something, but this is a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
Fun, challenging situation.
Yeah, it's and David Newman, who wrote the score. We've done this once before. We did it once before. We did it a few years ago with a orchestra from the East Coast, not New Jersey, and it worked out really great. It's fun. It's a fun night because you get to, but you're right. Usually it's done with more like Back to the Future-y kind of E.T. blockbuster crazy movies. This one is it's got a lot of music in it, so it's fun.
Who wrote the score?
David Newman. He's
Newman,
one of the
Newman,
the Newman pack. As soon as the Newmans were born, the father was the head of 20th Century Fox Music, did a lot of the scores of all the old movies that we love. Yeah. And his brother, they have the whole. You always see the Newman name on, and then David scores Thomas Newman, Randy Newman. They're all related. These guys. They were all like as soon as they're born, they give them a violin or stick them little babies. The first thing the Newmans do.
Yeah, even Eric Newman is his son. Randy's son produces Narcos, a lot of movies. So
there you go.
Everyone's in the biz.
Yeah, everybody's in the biz. So this should be a really good night.
Sounds great.
Yeah, are you guys in the East Coast? Are you here?
Sometimes.
We are in California, but if I was out there, I'd crash that party. Hey guys, if you're loving this podcast, which you are, be sure to click follow on your favorite podcast app. Give us a review, 5-star rating, and maybe even share an episode that you've loved with a friend.
If you're watching this episode on YouTube, please subscribe. We're on video now.
Fly on the Wall is presented by Audacy and executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Heather Santoro and Greg Holtzman, Maddie Sprung-Kaiser, and Leah Reese-Dennis of Audacy.
Our senior producer is Greg Holtzman, and the show is produced and edited by Phil Sweettech.
Booking by Cultivated Entertainment.
Special thanks to Patrick Fogarty, Evan Cox, Maura Curran, Melissa Wester, Hillary Schuff, Eric Donnelly, Colin Gaynor, Sean Cherry, Kurt Courtney, and Lauren Vieira.
Reach out with us any questions to be asked and answered on the show. You can email us at flyonthewall@audacy.com. That's AUDACY.com.